money flow, keep the shiny side up wherever we go. Set your own schedule, master of the road, hauling freedom's cargo, lightening up your load. Tips and tricks for truckers, yeah, we're helping you from dawn till dusk, we'll see it through. Staying driven hard in it every mile, hunting gears and wearing a smile. From hustling 60 truckers, yeah, we're helping you from dawn till dusk, we'll see it through. Staying driven hard in every mile, hunting gears and wearing a smile. From hustling city streets to the country lane, driven truck, yeah, we ease the strain. Brother, sister, keep your eyes on that line, from sunrise to moonshine. Motor operators, this show's for you. Tune in, get tips, and roll on through. From diesel fumes to mountain views, we'll guide your way, hauling grit and glory every single day. On the rubber, feel the freedom in every bend. Driven trucking, your best highway friends. Staying driven hard in every mile, hunting gears and wearing a smile. From hustling 60 truckers, yeah, we're helping you from dawn till dusk, we'll see it through. Staying driven hard in every mile, hunting gears and wearing a smile. From hustling city streets to the country lane, driven truck, yeah, we ease the strain. Ease the strain. Stay driven.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Hope y'all are all doing well. Hope y'all are all healthy. It's been a struggle over here at this house. We're all sick, and it's just been a rough week. So I'm sure you guys noticed yesterday we, no live stream, no video. Apologies. Yeah, it's just I'm just doing the best I can. So hopefully I kick this quickly. I do feel better than I did yesterday, so we'll see how it goes. But that being said, um, yeah, not going to do a whole lot of extra talking today because this side is just rough. Uh, but anyway, good morning. Good morning, Fate Trucking. Cool name. Um, Good morning, Ant Cool. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. That being said, if you're catching this on the replay, look down in the comment section down below. I will timestamp when the trucking market update actually starts. We'll get into that as well as brief overview of the weather. It looks nice today, so that's good. I do ask that you hit that like button. It's greatly appreciated. In return, I will give you a dad joke. So here you go. I searched for a lighter on Amazon, but all I could find were 6,000 matches. That's a good one. So we're not going to beat around anything. We're just going to dive straight into it. So here we go. So for your weather update, this is the current radar. It is October 2nd at 8:19 in the morning Central Standard Time. This website is called Weather Street. It just works for here on YouTube for the visualization. It's not necessarily the best one, in my opinion, for like you guys that are on the road keeping up with the weather. It just gives you a nice, good visual here. So just a little bit of rain, kind of off the coasts, really down here, off the Houston coast, down there in Florida, and then you got some rain up there in the Northeast, in northern Pennsylvania and New York. But outside of that, and it doesn't even really look bad, possibly up there in New York. If you're in those areas, just pay attention to the weather, keep up with it. Looks like here in the southeast or in the south, however you want to look at it. It looks like we're going to get some developments over the next couple of days. So if you are headed this way, just be careful. And then also up there in the northwest, it looks like there's a storm brewing, but it'll be a couple of days. So just keep an eye on it. Also looks like it's going to be windy up there in that northwest. So be careful. Be careful, guys. Keep an eye on that weather. Moving into the trucking market update. I like to start with the national load counts, and what this does is gives us just a brief insight of what the states are doing overall. Here in a few minutes, we'll actually dive in and look at each specific market. A good example of that is California. Not all of California has freight. Majority of freight's going to be down there in the Los Angeles area. So, but this just gives us an idea of kind of overall what's going on, and then because I look at this every day, I can tell you what's up, what's down, what's staying just level, right? So it gives us a nice barometer. Alabama, not good shape. 845 loads in to 505 loads out. Arkansas is in good shape. 385 loads in to 489 loads out. That's definitely up. Arizona, 548 trucks headed that way, but only 340 loads moving out of there. That's pretty standard for Arizona. California, good shape. They made the spread, right? So it's better in the truck driver's favor, so to speak. 1,930 loads in to 2,547 loads out. That's a little bit above average of volume, especially for today's Wednesday, yes, especially for a Wednesday. Colorado, 480 loads in, 211 loads out. That's a little bit lower volume than what we've seen out of Colorado lately, but pretty standard for Colorado. Connecticut, 270 loads in to 209 loads out. DC, holy cow, 11 loads in, 7 loads out of there. Wow, that's like 300% increase. That's crazy. Delaware, 116 loads in to 61 loads out. Florida, holy cow, 3,432 loads in to 554 loads out. Avoid Florida like the plague unless you live there or you want to hit the beach or something. Georgia, 2,791 trucks headed that way, 1,309 loads out. That's rough. That's rough. That's well above average on the loads in, and that is kind of below what we've seen here just in like the last week as far as loads out. It's not great volume for Georgia. Just that area just really hasn't been great, unfortunately. And keep in mind, this is for vans, right? I'm going to cover vans just because that's the majority of truck drivers on the road or owner operators on the road are pulling a box. So let's see here. Iowa, 313 loads in, 529 loads out. That's really good shape for Iowa. There's negotiating power there in Iowa. That's the whole reason why we do this, right? Idaho, 100 loads in, 224 loads out. Looks like the Northwest is going to remain strong. That remains to be seen. We'll see what's going on. Illinois, 1,296 loads in, 2,605 loads out. So that's way above average considering what we've seen in the past couple of months. So that's really solid. If you are in Illinois, negotiate. Get some more money. That's nearly a 2-to-1. Actually, it's more than a 2-to-1 for loads to trucks. And nobody sits in Illinois, right? So you're not going to have a whole lot of trucks left over from the previous couple of days looking for freight. So you got some negotiating power there in Illinois. Use that to your advantage. Indiana, 872 loads in to 1,516 loads out. That's also a move in the right direction. Freight was a little bit tight earlier on Monday. Looks to be separate. We're seeing some separation there, which is good. Kansas, 318 loads in to 381 loads out. They're still in good shape. Kentucky, 555 loads in to 766 loads out. That's also really good shape. Kentucky has made a push in the last week, so it's been a good state to go say hi. And the roads are really nice there. I always like driving through Kentucky. Louisiana, 411 loads in, 486 loads out. Roads are nice there too. But that's really good shape for Louisiana. Not a lot of negotiating power down there though, because Texas just wrecks anything close to it. So we'll get to that in a minute. Massachusetts, 569 loads in, 356 loads out. It's pretty normal. Maryland, 420 loads in, to 448 loads out. It's a little bit down on the volume, but I mean, that's that's just average for Maryland. But above that 50/50 mark. Maine, 103 trucks headed that way, which is normal. 132 loads out. They've had some freight sitting up there. So Maine, you can get all the money running out of Maine. Negotiate when you call them and they tell you no, say okay, then keep your load. I'll find something else. Because you've got a lot of negotiating power up there. They've had loads that have been sitting there, and they're going to be itching to move them. Michigan, 693 loads in, 963 loads out. Love that just that middle part of Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Just loving those states for the last half of the week. Ever since I've been doing this, which I've been broadcasting this for what, a couple of months now, something like that. So love to see it. Michigan in good shape, seeing that separation, and it's continuing. Minnesota, 435 loads in, 629 loads out. Not a huge increase, but still really good shape. Missouri, 600 or 586 loads in to 892 loads out. So Missouri's that's in really good shape above that average mark. And that's also a slight increase in volume. So that's good. That's good. We're seeing some good states here. We're seeing some good ratios here, right? And if this continues, which I expect that it will, the closer we get to November, this should be a good fourth quarter for everybody. That's what I'm seeing anyway. Mississippi, 318 loads in, 406 loads out. That's pretty solid for the South. Montana, 78 loads in to 77 loads out. It's normal. North Carolina, 1,950 loads headed that way, only 1,114 loads headed out. That's a lot of loads in. The volume is up a tad, but it's not going to cover all those trucks that are headed that way. So, I don't know. North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, just not good markets, sadly. North Dakota, 47 loads in, 205 loads out. Whoo! You can get all the money up there right now, and that's kind of how it was for what about a month ago. So it looks like it's getting back to that up there in North Dakota. Nebraska, 235 loads in to 204 loads out. That's a little low on the volume. Excuse me, this helps my throat. It's a little low on the volume, but it's par for the course as far as the load ratio. New Hampshire, 173 loads in to 40 loads out. It's a little low. Jersey, 771 trucks headed that way, 1,344 out of there. Maybe a little negotiating power in Jersey, but you're not a whole lot, right? Not a ton to speak of, but you are in good shape. So the loads that are posted should be good dollars. Don't run cheap freight in Jersey. New Mexico, 146 trucks headed that way, 327 loads out of there. That's interesting. We've seen New Mexico kind of make just a slight push here recently. I think it's more of a lack of trucks that go to New Mexico looking or needing freight to come out. I think it's just trucks that are sitting there. So it might be worth it to kind of look on the board, see what's available, because you can always get good paying freight going to New Mexico because nobody wants to go that way. But I would certainly have a load already booked, or like having a broker holding a load out of there for me. I wouldn't certainly don't want to get stuck in New Mexico. Nevada, 235 loads that way, 378 coming out. So good shape in Nevada. All you California boys, I'm sure, are excited about that. New York, 846 loads in, 1,344 loads out. That's a little boost in the volume, which is good, but it's not really above kind of average for New York. But good shape in New York. Ohio, 1,478 loads in, 2,009 loads out. That's really solid for Ohio. A little bit of negotiating power there, but not a ton of negotiating going on because it is Ohio, right? They usually just kind of are posted for decent. And if you're not seeing decently posted freight, you're probably looking at the wrong time, right? Granted, it's not going to be a plethora of ton of great paying freight if you look at certain times, but there are certainly, earlier in the morning, you're going to find better freight. It's just the way it is. Oklahoma, 531 loads in, 240 loads out. That's just rough. Oregon, 161 loads in, 581 loads out. Northwest is the place to be. Um, they're just, yeah. From what we've seen so far, we'll see Washington here in a second, but it just remains that truck drivers just, you should be naming your price in the Northwest. You should be naming your price. Pennsylvania, 1,670 loads in to 2,129 loads out. That's good shape. For PA, that's a little bit up on the volume for a Wednesday, but par for the course for the loads headed in. So good shape for PA. Rhode Island, 90 loads in, 40 loads out. South Carolina, 972 loads in to 691 loads out. That's bad. That's for even for South Carolina. That's rough. So that area, just avoid it like the plague. Just avoid the whole southeasternmost portion of the United States like the plague. Don't go there. South Dakota, 79 loads in to 56 loads out. I mean, that's down, sure, but that's, those numbers, that's pretty much irrelevant. Tennessee, 1,032 loads in, 833 loads out. That's down. Early in the week, it was just a hair above that 50-50 mark, that average. But we're seeing favor swing towards the brokers in Tennessee. Texas, 4,057 loads in, 2,279 loads out. Do I need to even say any more? That's just rough. Utah, 230 loads in, 278 loads out. Western half of the United States is looking good to me. Virginia, 986 loads in, 1,087 loads out. That's good. It's holding above that 50-50 mark. Vermont, 50 loads in, 81 loads out. Washington, 336 loads in, 630 loads out. So all those northwestern states are in really good shape. Sorry, guys. Ooh, sorry. Northwest, yeah, you should be making all the money up there. Wisconsin, 586 loads in to 1,499 loads out. If you've been watching this channel the past few weeks, you're likely getting a load out of there. And you're probably making all the money. And you're probably naming your price. Good job. West Virginia, 145 loads in to this. I wish I could get rid of this little. Can y'all see it? Y'all can't see it. Oh, it is there. You see that little question mark down there? Thing's annoying. 145 loads in to 179 loads out for West Virginia. And then Wyoming, 56 loads in to 94 loads out. I saw a question. Quick question. How do you determine how many loads are headed towards a certain state? So that's what this right over here is. If you can see the cursor right there that I'm moving, this is on the dashboard on just the homepage right after you log in. You'll see this on the dashboard, and it's over here on the right-hand side. It says National Loads Count. And then you see all the abbreviations for the states right there. And then up top, it says loads in, the loads out. So that's what this little bar is. So if you're just kind of briefly glancing at this, you want to see a lot of dark blue, which is what we see. And I mean, you can, the top 5 states are California, Illinois. So, okay, let me back up. So when you do, I've actually never clicked this button before. when you do it by loads out, it's actually going to adjust it by just the number, and that's not what we want. We don't want it by the number. So I wouldn't click that. I wouldn't click this. What is it? Filter or sort mechanism. I would just leave it in states and just look at it by state, and then just go through it wherever you're at. So that's how I determine. The one thing that I can't see, and I will say this so that way you guys know, I can't see trucks that are sitting there that don't have a load, that decided to, for whatever reason, they're doing a 34, they're doing, they just decided to take a day off, they're sick, whatever, coming off of home time. That's the one thing that I can't see. And that's also why you don't hear me a lot of times, like Ohio, right? Ohio's usually above that 50-50 mark. But that's one of those states where a lot of truck drivers live. There's a lot of truck drivers that live in Ohio. And so that's, it's one of those, that's why you never hear me talk about it like I do like Michigan or, North Dakota or something like that. You don't have a ton of negotiating power there because you've got a lot of guys and gals that are coming out for just from off of home time or resets or whatever. So when you get into those really populated areas, like California is a great example, you still don't have a ton of negotiating power, even if the scales are tipped way in the truck driver's favor, because a lot of people live there, and you'll have a lot of that. But for instance, like North Dakota, when you see that, I mean, there's just never a ton of trucks. I mean, there's a lot of truck drivers that live up there, but that's comparatively to how many people live there. And so you'll have way more negotiating power in something, somewhere like that, like the North Dakotas or the Iowas, than you will elsewhere. Now, Illinois is a little bit different case because it's such a massive swing this week that you should be able to negotiate there. I mean, the brokers are not really used to it. Um, and it's one of those, like, I really want to do a video on negotiation techniques, because I come from a sales background, so I'm not saying I'm the world's best negotiator, but I mean, I'm trained. I may do that. Anyway, we're gonna get back to it. Hopefully that long-winded answered your question. DATCon is October 22nd to the 24th. Check it out. It's in Kansas City. Weekly snapshot. We're just gonna breeze through this really quickly because I already covered this on Monday, and these numbers really don't change all that much. But one thing I definitely want to point out this week, the van load to truck, when you look at this week over week, plus 23.4%. That's huge. That's almost a 25% more loads to trucks. That's crazy. That's a lot. That's a massive boost. Look at the flatbeds. Flatbed load to truck up almost 13%. Reefers up almost 20%. Guess what's going to happen right here on the spot rates? They have to go up. They have to. And as that's going up, you have more negotiating power. So hang in there. Hang in there. I know it's been rough. They may not have been bumping rates a whole lot, but this is why I do this. That way you can arm yourself with the knowledge to be able to take advantage when the market is in your favor. And it looks like it's headed that way. It's changing. So the spot rates, they're still the same. Yeah, they're still the same, but look for that, to change over the next, as long as the trend continues, right? It's always a caveat. Average price of fuel right now, $3.54 per gallon across the United States. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Sorry, guys. We're going to make it through this. As far as zooming in to the actual markets, this is a heat map. And this will show us, we've already identified that the Northwest is the place to be. The northern part of the middle United States is the place to be, right? But where in particular, which markets do you want to actually go to? That's what this tells us. So it's not a surprise usually, but still it's good to look at, because every once in a while you'll get like the eastern half of Michigan will light up, right? So it's always good to know kind of where that freight's at. So looking up in the Northwest, no surprise, all the freight's in the Portland area, and then second best area would be the Seattle area. So if you're all the way up in Seattle, and or like even in the northern half, and you only have a 100-mile deadhead, you may want to move that deadhead out to cover this Portland area, because it might behoove you. You may make more money if you bounce down to Portland to get a load out of there. Don't be afraid of a little deadhead, guys. Come on now. I know you box drivers don't like to deadhead, but it's always worth a look. I'm not saying just drive down there, but it's always worth a look. The western side of the United States. Now, when I say that, I'm never including Idaho, even though Idaho's not terrible right now. I'm never including Montana. Never including Wyoming. I'll never talk about Colorado. New Mexico is a bit of a surprise, but I still wouldn't go there. And I probably wouldn't even go to Arizona. I'm always talking about California, possibly Nevada, but Oregon and Washington. That's what I mean by the western half, even though that's not half. But that's where all your freight's going to be. California, the majority of the freight's down there in the Los Angeles area. It's not a surprise. The middle of the state's kind of cooled off, and then San Francisco's cooled off a little bit. That whole kind of coastal area in that San Francisco portion, or like the middle of California. Um, I mean, Phoenix is showing average, but take that with a grain of salt. Nevada, it's showing that the freight is up there in the northern parts, which is interesting. I know there is a decent amount of industry up there, but I mean, there's not a ton, regardless, just because there's not a lot going on up there. But the freight is not. I mean, maybe you California boys are not happy about the Nevada situation because of the freight is not in the Las Vegas area. So, New Mexico. I'm gonna cover this just because of what I said earlier in the stream. But the freight, it seems to be on the southern portion of the state. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Texas, pretty normal. It's Houston and Dallas area, and the kind of the greater DFW area, really. Uh, that's where the freight's going to be. Louisiana, it's going to be in the bottom half of the state. That's normal. Arkansas, it's always going to be that Little Rock, Memphis area. That's where your freight's going to be at there. Mississippi, the freight's going to be way up north. Tennessee, all the freight's going to be over on the western side. So if you have to go down there, try not to go past Memphis, you know, or I mean, if it's just an absolute banger of a load, maybe go to Atlanta, but just know you're going to take a beating coming out of there. Absolute beating. So I just wouldn't go there. I don't care how much the freight paid. I would not go to the Atlanta area. Sorry, Sammy. I'm not even coming to visit. It's just rough. Moving up to the Midwest, we've got Kansas City areas. We're going to be the freight where the freight's at in Kansas, of course. Missouri, it's going to be the Kansas City and St. Louis markets, but they're just average, so don't go crazy. Iowa, it's not telling me where the freight's at, so just is what it is. Showing possibly over there near Omaha, but I don't know. That's to me that's a little scary. I wasn't crazy about going to Nebraska, Iowa. I like driving through there and eating, but that's about it. Moving eastward, let's see here. Illinois. So Illinois is in really good shape right now, and it looks to be down there near the St. Louis market, and of course the Chicago market. Yeah, that's a big gap in between. So I personally would probably go to the Chicago market. Actually, I'd probably go to Indianapolis market, and then I don't know. It's probably not worth it to bounce all the way to Chicago. That's quite the bounce. I probably wouldn't go to Chicago given what I'm seeing here. Indiana, it's going to be the southern half of the state. No surprise. Ohio, so the freight is going to be in the southern half, which is interesting because usually the northeastern part is the kind of the one that holds on throughout the end of the week. But the entirety of Ohio seems to be in pretty good shape. The Northeast, in the Pennsylvania market, it's going to be in the eastern half, which is normal. And then all of Jersey's showing to have freight, but the majority of the time, the freight's in the northern half of the state. Although it's so small, that's really not that big a deal, right? And then those three states in that lane, I hope y'all are wearing out. Michigan is showing the eastern half of the state is where the freight's at, but the Detroit market is not dark blue; it's light blue today. So maybe some freight over there, but western. I'm sorry, I think I said eastern. Western half of the state is where Michigan has its freight. In the Wisconsin market, it's going to be the eastern half, and then in the Minnesota, it's going to be around Minneapolis. North Dakota, it's not showing me anything, unfortunately, but it's probably in the either the northern half or the eastern half near Fargo. And that is going to do it today, guys and gals. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. Hello, Simplifido. Work harder. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everybody is healthy. Yeah, So that's gonna wrap it up. My throat did better than what I thought it was gonna do. I was able to make it through it. Now I got to turn around and do another recorded video for you guys. So be on the lookout for that. Um, Probably Friday is when that's going to drop. So anyway, man, thank you guys so much. Y'all are still here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Y'all keep the shiny side up. But as always, stay driven.